I'd like to invite 10 Smart's Board President Rich Davies to the stage to talk more about the goals and the expo and as well as 10 Smart's mission.
Thank you, Savannah. Really appreciate that. So I'm Rich Davies. My day job is I'm the director of the Sustainable Transportation Program at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and I also serve as the president of the board of 10 Smart. We are very excited to have you all here. This is fantastic. We're looking forward to networking and getting to know you all as we move forward. This event is envisioned as our first ever public showcase to the latest transportation research technologies and solutions being developed and deployed by corporations, institutions, and organizations across Tennessee. We think these institutions are doing great work, and we're trying to bring more credibility to this, or more visibility to it, along with the credibility these organizations have. We want to really, our goal is to try to show Tennessee's role as a leader in smart mobility arena and promote the state as a place where businesses can succeed in transportation technology industry. 10 Smart's mission, and it really is tied to this expo, 10 Smart's mission is to elevate Tennessee to the forefront of research and development and deployment of smart mobility solutions. To talk a little bit about, 10 Smart was envisioned because the world of mobility is becoming increasingly complex, and it crosses grid, it crosses communications, it crosses vehicles, and we wanted to bring together a forum to make those communications possible. Over the next 2 days, you'll hear from many of our members who are leaders in the transportation industry and describe what they're doing and how they're transforming the industry. All in all, we look forward to 3 days of networking, sharing ideas, unveiling opportunities for your companies to participate in important projects. And we hope that you can leave inspired, excited, and ready to engage in new partnerships that will continue to transform mobility in Tennessee. If you aren't yet a member in Tennessee in 10 Smart, then we really encourage you to network with us, talk to us, try to understand the value proposition of joining. We think this is an important organization. With that, let's get started. I have the distinct privilege of introducing our first keynote speaker from one of our leading partners and major supporters of 10 Smart, Nissan Americas. Chris Reed is Senior Vice President of Research and Development at Nissan Americas. In his role, he is responsible for all vehicle engineering and development operations. Previously, Chris was Vice President, Platform and Technology Engineering, where he was responsible for powertrain, electrical, and audio IT engineering groups. He also served as the overseas chief vehicle engineer for Nissan Leaf, the Murano, the Pathfinder, as well as the Infiniti QX60. He's here to talk about Nissan's long-term vision, Nissan Ambition 2030. Chris, we're thrilled to have you and looking forward to your talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Very good, Rich. Thank you so much. I'll get away from that mic. All right, well, this is great. Very excited to be a part of the 10 Smart Tennessee Smart Mobility Expo, the inaugural event. When I was thinking about this being the first event, my wife always teases me because we were watching that movie Titanic, and she was like, and I was like, that was the first voyage? And she's like, yeah, it was. She always makes fun of me, but that's not making any comparisons about the inaugural Tennessee Smart Mobility Conference. But at any rate, as Rich said, I'm Chris Reed from Nissan. I actually Michigan, up in Farmington Hills, but do spend a lot of time down here. Actually, my wife moved down here because she said she might see me more. But it's exciting to be here, and as Rich said, I've been kind of R&D, started out at college, actually Virginia Tech, went up to Michigan, started working, and then had a chance to live in Japan and kind of experience the auto industry from the good old days. But let's keep moving here. So, mobility, obviously it's changed a lot. And then I look at this picture. Like, Lauren, you picked a good job with this picture because I was like, oh my God, I actually had that car. Because you're used to seeing these, like way in the good old days, like a Model T or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that's that old car that I actually had. So when I first moved to Michigan, I drove up in my old Chevy van, loaded up full of, all college furniture, a bunch of cinder blocks and plywood shelving and stuff like that. And then I got my first car. It was actually from my wife, Mandy, and it was a beautiful box Sentra with no power windows, didn't even have a radio, so not a lot of connectivity in that car. And then I think about what we used to do then, not even about mobility. Mobility was different. It was like designing commodity cars, right? It was like every new model, you look at so far in the future, in the late 90s, the early zeros, and it was like every car was like 1 inch bigger, 1 inch longer, 1 inch wider, and 10 more horsepower. That was what the plan was. And it was not really about mobility at that point. So a totally different world, what we used to do. And now, well, then I look at the present on this slide. I'm like, the present, that looks like the future. Now that car is in this room right now, the Aria. That car is totally different. It's hard to pick up from this view right here, but you can see it on that future vision as well. You know, the execution of a new platform, with new mobility feeling, with EV structure and powertrain and batteries. You know, the wheels have been pushed rearward and forward. The whole environment of the vehicle is totally different. And then there's the experience of the vehicle and how you interact with it and how it's connected and how you live with it as almost like a cell phone on wheels. That's what it's coming to. So we're kind of, it's a life cycle experience, or it's a full experience of you and your vehicle. So that's really the present, which feels like the future. And the future is just going to be multiplying that over and over again. So a little bit about Nissan. We just recently, from our CEO, Uchida-san from Japan, he announced with our COO our Ambition 2030. This kind of stood out to me because it's a totally different view. You know, we've had a lot of business plans and future midterm plans of the future, you know, that we've lived through growing up in automotive. But honestly, up until now, they used to be very different. They were about growth and market share and profit and that kind of thing. It wasn't a customer-based vision of the future. This is like completely the different viewpoint. This is the ecosystem. This is the customer, the experience of the future. And this is where we talked about the things we're going to do as far as making the lives better, right? And it's not just a slogan, because it's a different conversation. And later I'll talk about the ambitions, you know, about the market share and or the percentage of EV adoption. But that's not the goal of the plan. The plan is to make amazing vehicles that people really recognize how they empower them and improve their life. And then we'll measure it with maybe the share. We'll measure the profit of the company as kind of a result, not the ambition. So it's a totally different way of looking at things. So that's why now talking about electrification and technology and the ecosystem of the vehicle is a total different way to look at things. And then if I look back at our business plans, it was really about what we're going to do, as I said, share, profit, execution, vehicles, number of vehicles, different than today. Now our plan is about wider issues, right? It's about our societal issues. And obviously you can see the issues on the screen there, but it's about how the vehicle affects the world, how the culture and society is affected by the vehicle, how the vehicle can solve problems, you know, for aging population or mobility solutions, or we were talking on the floor over there about rural communities, about connectivity, about electrification, and it's a different conversation. So our 2030 vision is really thinking from this standpoint, and then how do we execute that as a vehicle manufacturer, as an ecosystem provider, as a solutions provider, and then make it great for the customer. Well, we kind of learned about our first foray into the EV world with the Nissan Leaf. You know, we brag a lot about our innovation and about our forward-looking view. But we were the first, right? So there's no supply base, there's no customer expectation, there's nothing. So we developed it from scratch. And in the end of the day, the customer kind of drives the equation, right? We can't say, we're going to sell this many Leafs, right? The customer decides. And so we didn't know what we were going for, so we created a market, we created a vehicle, and we tried to hit this kind of value balance of the vehicle. Well, we have a huge market share globally, or a huge number of vehicles globally, but then I think others magnified that and saw this flavor that we created, and now they really jumped into the customer viewpoint. So this is a normal growing operation of all of our manufacturers. But it's really about recognizing the customer drives the solution in the end of the day. The customer decides the market share, finally. Our Ambition 2030 has got an idea of having 40% market share. Well, we need to at least provide the number of vehicles to do that. But if you only focus on the market share, then you'll do things that aren't customer focused. I mean, you're trying to artificially force the market. This is a different way we're looking at things for our 2030 ambition. So, like I said, even though we're not making the target to be we're not going to judge ourselves just on the execution of the 40%. If you don't provide the investment, if you don't create the product, you'll never get there, right? So you got to do it in parallel. So you can see our commitments anyways. And so it's amazing how it's adding up. You know, I don't remember the exact numbers of the Leaf, but it was high single-digit billions, I think, what it cost to set that up from the beginning. And now we're up to 18 billion. So it's kind of amazing. And you know, all electrification, advanced technology. And then in our 2030 plan, we talked about our, you know, how many vehicles we're going to come to market with. You know, 23 electrified global vehicles. And so electrified is a broad term. You know, there's some kind of electrification, some hybrid technology, some others. And 15 of those will be battery electric EVs, standalone EVs. And of course, our North American market, headquartered here in Franklin, is really driving, you know, North America, South America, but it's driving a lion's share of that global output and customer base. So we're lucky to live in this kind of prime #1 market globally. And as I said, that 40% target of the vehicles is how we'll measure our success. But really, the right vehicles with the right product, with the right connectivity, and the right everything, experience, ecosystem of the vehicle is what will drive that result. And then, obviously, there's a lot of step-by-step investments. So we recently talked about what we're going to be doing down in Mississippi of $500 million. And that's like the first of many additional investments that are coming. And obviously, Tennessee is a huge part of that, those next steps that will be announced in the future. So we're just excited and so committed to this region as a hub for our future. So obviously, the building blocks of that are technology. Where before, as I said, you know, whether it was that Sentra in 1988, or whether it was a car that I worked on in Japan as a Murano, as a chief engineer globally in 2014 model year, or even cars a few years after that, there was technology in the cars, but it's not the same as this new advanced technology that's coming that's going to power the future. So it wasn't just copy-paste, because there's tons of advancements that were going on, individual technologies, but it was about the structure of the vehicle pretty much was just, you had different size platforms, and you had different engines, but they all just kind of, is like a matching game. Where now, we're talking about completely new platform structures, so learning about that. And then obviously today, we're talking about the current battery technology, so that laptop on wheels. So obviously, a lithium-ion technology is really the building blocks, and we're making improvements and efficiencies of that. But it's really a base technology, and has a certain amount of power you can get out of a certain amount of weight of the vehicle. And obviously, you want to make it go farther, you got a bigger battery. And that's driving the cost, and so it's not perfect. So right now, that's why the market comes in at these high-end vehicles, because it costs a lot to have a battery that's bigger, that has the range the customers desire. And as I said about the Leaf, you know, it didn't explode like we thought it would do. Probably not the best word. It didn't grow like we thought it would. There's nobody here from legal, is there? Okay, good. And we thought there was a value-based concept there. You know, we looked at the customer. We tried to explain so clearly to the customer, oh, don't worry. We've done all this research. You drive 75 miles a day at the most. You can wake up every day with a full charge. You're never even going to notice the range. It's going to be great. The customers were like, yeah, but if I don't have 450 miles of range, what if I have to drive to Ohio tomorrow? And so this has been the problems. Now, solid-state battery is an advancement that is going to fix that completely. Now, granted, as I said, the current vehicles, you can make bigger and bigger batteries and have range, you know, 300, 400-mile range, but it's too expensive, right? It's not accessible. We're trying to make technologies that's accessible, connectivity that's accessible, electrification and autonomous drive technologies that are accessible to everyone as a different strategy instead of just the very highest-end customer and vehicle. So this solid-state battery is exciting, and we've made announcements that we're developing our own, you know, proprietary in-house materials and leading into the solid-state battery realm. And then, you know, we're going to be coming out in the end of this decade with those technologies, or with that battery technology, and with our, you know, in-house capability. And so at Nissan, we've kind of grown in the advanced technology area, like whether it's autonomous drive, where we actually write our own software for that. And then we execute on the vehicle, and we work on the future of driverless vehicles. And then as far as solid-state batteries, the same. And then, you know, things like next-generation LiDAR. So I know it's fun looking at some of the cars over there. I think the Tennessee Tech's working on the one, and there's a lot of examples out there with the other Tennessee universities. And obviously, we're doing the same out in our Silicon Valley teams out in California. But it's about what's the right balance of technology that can be accessible, which means it can't be too expensive, but we see a big breakthrough coming in the new LiDAR technology that can really give us the type of performance that we expect, the confidence that the customer needs for autonomous drive technology. So, as I said before, this kind of customer-focused viewpoint, I think we, as an engineering company, had a tendency to make technology and then tell our communications and marketing teams to sell it to the customer. That's what they need. We decided this is going to be great for them. Well, that's kind of worked, but it's also a different way of looking at things. So now we're deciding it's more of a customer-centric world, and we know the patience of customers is like a 0. I think we all have stories like this, and I love to tell stories about my wife of 33 years, but she'll be like, I'll be like, it's no problem. You hit this menu, and you go 3 menus over, and you pick this. Sorry, our connectivity leader over here, Luke, is actually in the audience, so I'm not picking on you specifically, Luke. But anyway, she's like, that sucks. She's very impatient with that. And I'm like, it's really easy. No, and then she's like, no, not going to do it. So the point is, you got to make it easy. It's got to be, you got to be able to do it without an engineering degree, or reading a manual, or doing anything. So that's what gives people usage and enjoyment and acceleration of ideas and purchasing and prioritization. So, and then what else leads to that is confidence. So when we look at our autonomous drive technology, we call it ProPilot, actually ProPilot Assist, because its idea is that it's supporting the driver, and later it may become another name because it'll be doing everything without any driver input. But what we've learned is that we got to walk the customer slowly and provide that confidence. So we started with we call 81. It's on the current Leaf. As I said, we're making it accessible to all people because we put it down in the grade walks of most of our cars. I mean, Altimas and Leafs and Rogues, cars that are, regular cars, not super high-end Infinities. And then we take a step-by-step approach to say, we'll start with cruise control, or intelligent cruise control, then with the lane control. That's the step 1, and then we're going to move it on to now. You see on the Aria that is hands-free, eyes-on, hands-free, step-by-step to get confidence and trust from the customer. Oh, my last quick story. I have like an hour to speak here, probably. Doing it quick, Rich. We're going to keep this really focused. But my daughter, we have 2 Leafs in the family, and so when we had the first Leaf, my wife said she wanted it because she's super conscientious about the environment, and then it was like, I had 125 miles of range on a sunny day without air conditioning, and ended up, I always drove it to work. She would not drive the thing. So later we got the next one at 250-mile range, and then she's driving it. Now that range anxiety is gone. But about this story was the cruise control, I guess, the original name of it. And I asked my daughter, first of all, my wife, she's like, I don't use cruise control. I don't like it. I went, okay. So then my daughter, I was like, young driver, so I was like, do you use that ProPilot Assist? And she's like, I don't like the way it controls the wheel. I don't like that. So she's overriding it and just using the intelligent cruise control. And then I asked her the last few weeks before she went off to college, and she's like, I always use that now. The point is, when you build step-by-step technology from the customer viewpoint, from the acceptance, from the trust, and the confidence, you can grow, but you can't go too fast. And on the connectivity side, so Luke will be around here later to answer all kinds of questions. But this is an amazing opportunity as the ecosystem goes, right? And so we're working hard on this as well to, starting from the obvious things. And I think the customers, our customers can give us survey data, and they're like, connected, my car's connected, I have Bluetooth. Well, that's not what we mean by connected, obviously. That's the beginning. But later it's more seamless, where your car and your phone are one, your experience, the car becomes the connectivity. It knows where you're going, it knows where you're going to park, it knows where you're going to eat, it's paying for things. I mean, it's all together. So this is an amazing opportunity for the future. And the last few slides here, just our Tennessee presence. We've been here, 83. I think I was graduating from high school, and we opened up the Smyrna plant. I think it was producing the pickup trucks at the very beginning. So it's amazing history. I think if you look at this page between Smyrna, the headquarters, Deckard, engine plant, there's like $10 billion worth of investment on this page, 10,000 people employed. I mean, it's an amazing commitment, and we're here to stay. And obviously, I think it stands out a little bit. When you look at the bottom picture, you see a bunch of engines, at Deckard, because it produces 1 million+ engines per year. This phrase someone said to me, and I think it really resonated with me, because it's when we're talking to our teams as well. It's like Deckard has powered Nissan for the last, I think since 93, 7. and it's going to power us in the future. So this is a, then there'll be a transition, obviously, on what the things they make there, but it is our powerhouse to support Nissan globally, and certainly regionally, obviously. And so it's an amazing asset, and we're going to keep leveraging that in the future. So beyond, what's next? I think, Rich, you talked a little bit about the connectivity into the infrastructures and whatever. We're excited about that. And we're doing lots of projects even around here in Tennessee with TVA and others, and universities as well. And this V2X, this means vehicle to everything, basically. And so whether it's smart intersections or communication with other vehicles or cell phones or charging the home or everything you can imagine the car would do, communicating with something, with a network. Could be later with power grids, it could be backup supplies, it could be about everything. And our Leaf so far, because it has bidirectional charging, has been an amazing pillar of those projects, I think, with the research projects. And then 4R, that's a company, we have Kent O'Hara came back from Japan leading that company for us, and it's about, really thinking about it from the overall ecosystem of the battery, and it's not just about making a car and letting it go to the junkyard, it's about understanding the battery and how it can be more of an asset of the future of the society, right? And so whether, of course, first step is to try to resell, reuse, those, so you're just kind of repurposing what you have. It might end up being a backup power grid later, whatever. There's lots of ideas out there. And then eventually, kind of refabricating where you take the bad and put in good, and then of course finally recycling. You can see a lot of announcements recently in the government about the future of that. So there'll be a lot of focus there. So I try to keep it quick and easy there, Rich. It was really a high level of what we're doing, kind of as a company that's integrating with society, with what we're doing in Tennessee, what we're doing from an engineering, what we're doing from a future, and kind of bringing the customer into everything we do. So just want to show kind of a high-level view of what Nissan's doing, and look forward to chatting and seeing you around the floor. Thank you.